Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Michael Wilkes, Angel Ortiz, Dr. Chad, and Sam La Cavera. Go check out beardedbrowns.com and be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, everybody? What is up on this beautiful, windy, Northeast Ohio day? Chad, of course, is in perfect weather because he lives in the most perfect spot in the world, San Diego. Nonetheless, we're here to talk about what seems to be the most complete game the Browns have played since, I don't know, the Denver game last year, where they had complimentary football. Whether the offense could have done a little better, but they scored when they needed to. Defense created plays, and the special team stepped up. And we're here to talk about it. It's going to be a fun show. So tune in. Please like, subscribe, wherever you're listening to today. Share the feed, comment below. Let us know your takes. You may get on the show. Nonetheless, we'll get right into it tonight, folks. The top story. After firing their coach, the Tennessee Titans lose. Usually there's a coaching bump, right? When the coach gets fired, the teams get motivated and they win. But the Tennessee Titans seem to get worse. The reason why we're bringing this up is because there's a connection, right, with the Browns. Callahan. Do you think Callahan should revisit us as far as the offensive line?
So we talked about this last week, is why I wanted to bring it up one more time, because we almost treated it like it was a given. He's available. You go grab him. I realized this week he didn't get fired. He resigned, which means he's still under ownership contract of the Titans, which means we were treating it like his son was fired. He's out of his contract. Bill resigned, which means he can't go sign with another team. A coach just can't be like, I resign. I want to go play with them now. So it made me realize, for all the people that were like, including myself, who were like, I mean, you could bring him in at least as a consultant. You probably legally can't unless you give the Titans something or they release him.
Yeah. I personally, you guys talked about it a little bit on Saturday. I mean, the Titans defense was ranked 26th and we're ranked 29th on offensive line. So I don't think there's a big difference there. I don't think he moved mountains there either. We talked about
also,
it again.
He's the run game coordinator, but that's the one area, especially this last game, where it looks like they're getting pretty coordinated on it. So you wonder if you want to like shake that up or if it's worth it.
Yeah, they need to keep what they're doing, obviously, there.
The other connection is they got beat up by the team that the Browns are going to play next week. And they look pretty good. I watched a lot of the games.
Yeah. Drake May, man, that dude's
good team.
That dude's a good. The pass defense is going to have to step their game up a little bit, because Drake May is not. It's probably. He's on the rise for sure.
I know they had a 5-year gap, and it wasn't like immediate, but there should have been like a 15-year gap after a quarterback as good as Tom Brady before they found another quarterback this good. He's already breaking multiple of Tom Brady's early records, and that's really frustrating to me. But we'll get to the Patriots another time. But it is like, this will be one of their tougher matchups of the year. And I love Drake May. He was my favorite quarterback in that draft. I didn't think he'd be this good this quick. And I also had them as like not one of the elite teams we played, not one of the bum teams, but like sort of like a equal matchup kind of team. And looking at them now, I'm like, no, they look pretty good with Drake.
Did you guys see all the signs in the stadium apologizing to Mike Vrabel?
Oh, in Tennessee saying come back.
We're sorry, Mike. We're sorry.
We're sorry. Come back. Yeah, that was
you don't always know what you have until it's gone. Browns
fans, exactly. So that leads me to So Yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup. If you look at them statistically on PFF or whatever rankings that you see them at, you can see they're middle of the statistics on most of the board. But what separates them is good coaching. So if you have good coaching, that can always take you over the top. So that it's gonna be interesting to see how these two go head to head. Since Mike was in the building last year, and a lot of fans are screaming you should have kept him instead of leaving. But nonetheless, they're going to go head to head. And by the way, if you want more on that, tune into our Saturday show where Mike, Sam, and Gary Lee will break it down for you live at 10 a.m. Saturday on all platforms. All right, guys. So that's going to be fun. We'll talk about it a little more maybe toward the end of the show, but we're going to get right back into some Browns talk. Guys, should we talk about tanking or no tanking?
Yeah, essentially, I only brought this up because there is actually literally a section of the fan base that we won this game. Now, remember, this is week what?
It'll be
7?
week 7, yeah.
This was week 7, and people were pissed that we won this game because they were like, well, we should be losing so we can get a higher draft pick already. Like, only a third of the season in, and there are already people pissed that the Browns won a second game and are, like, getting better because they're convinced that they should just first of all, a lot of people were convinced the Browns were tanking. Like, people have been telling us since week 1, like, they're tanking this year. We've been saying they're not tanking this year. They're not great. They have a terrible quarterback situation. The offensive line is beat to hell, and they have a lot of young guys playing that they're developing, but they're not trying to lose. They're just not great, and they had a terrible schedule. But there's a lot of people confused out there about what's going on. I thought the Browns were just giving up this season, and others saying they probably should. And I just thought, I don't think that's even on the radar right now. But I just wanted to hear you guys had any other thoughts.
No, they're not tanking at all. They have the quarterback situation obviously right now, and they're going to get over that hump finally. Hopefully soon. We're able to see both quarterbacks. I know this is something that we talk about every week, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You're going to have to see both. Are you going to trade one? What are you going to do at the end of the year?
My quick take on that is I think you bring both of them back and you
Draft another quarterback?
No, you draft Carnell
do,
Tate
if
and
there's one
offensive
there.
lineman. You draft
I do if there's one there.
You draft Tate and you get an offensive lineman because if they keep on winning, they're not going to be in the top. They'll probably be top 10 to 15, top 15.
No, people were convinced it's an automatic. They were picking top 3, and I'm like, it's a long season to go, guys.
Yeah.
If they get on a roll at any point, they could win a couple more games, and then they're picking a little bit later. But
then we put a lot of high hopes in Jacksonville this year as well with that number 1 pick, and they're doing pretty damn good. So
yeah, they lost in London, so that helps.
Again, long season.
Yep, and I mean for me, you draft if you're below 10, you draft Tate and you get offensive tackle and you run it back with Shador and Dillon. Hopefully Shador shows some improvement. You put talent around him. Let's see if he can learn to handle a blitz. That's just my quick take. We'll talk about that in the offseason, though.
Yeah, I think the Browns basically set themselves up to not have to tank twofold. One, you tank for a quarterback, and if you're tanking for any other reason, then you're an idiot.
Yep.
It's a waste of your time. It screws up your culture. You tank for a quarterback, and now the Browns gave themselves 2 outs. One, they have 2 quarterbacks, both that they like and both that they think could start for them next year if needed. We'll see if that plays out. But then 2, they got themselves 2 first-round picks, so they could use either one of them on a quarterback if a guy they absolutely love falls to them, or if they have a chance to get a guy that they just, if the Titans get the first pick again and they're like, well, we're not going to take Mendoza. We just drafted Cam Ward. Maybe the Browns can package those picks. So the Browns have given themselves all of these avenues to move forward, and they can take any of them depending on how things look at the end of the year. So again, there's no world where they're like thinking of tanking at this point this season. Their last tank happened in December when they had 3 wins and they knew they could keep themselves at 3. Now it's not an option. So.
Yep, I agree. They're going to continue to cook this season. And speaking of cooking, who is cooking? New segment brought to you by the Bearded Bastards barbecue sauce. Guys, we're going to talk about who is cooking this game against the Miami Dolphins. First pick right off the top of our head. Well, not top of our heads. It's in our notes that we put Tyson Campbell with a pick 6. That was probably the first pick 6 I seen since, I don't know, when I was 10. I feel it's been that long. Yeah, it's been a while.
Been a while.
And
The last one I can remember was that Denzel Ward, that famous one in the Bengals where he picked Jamar Chase and took it back like 99 yards.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I can remember in the longest time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I remember. But
And that was like years ago.
And it shows you I don't think I've seen Newsom pick up. Well, he did pick a ball up this year, but
Ronnie Hickman, December 28th of 2023 against the Jets.
Oh, okay. 2023. That's 2 years ago.
Yeah, they're still hard to come by. Yeah, they don't happen often.
But to have him have a pick 6, that was huge. And that was a momentum change on the game right after halftime. Tip ball, and a tip ball at that. Usually they drop those, but he was able to catch the guy they just traded for and ran it back for a touchdown. So
and
big
we gave
ups
him
to
some
Campbell.
slack last week. We said, he had a tough time against Metcalf. He did make some good plays against Metcalf too, but overall, I think he lost that battle. And then this week he comes back, shows you incredible value. And we questioned, why would they make that trade? I think I specifically thought Newsom's a little better player overall. And I talked to somebody from the Jaguars. I think I talked to somebody from the OBR for a while. We kind of went back and forth on what could be happening. And we came up with the conclusion that the Browns think this is a already signed option for them for the next 4 years, who in this defense can actually play as well as Greg Newsome, who was drafted when they had a zone defense, and same for Campbell. He was drafted when the Jaguars had more of a man defense, and they thought that swap, even though Greg Newsome may be more versatile, more of a overall corner for what we actually want, Tyson Campbell looks like he's doing things that we wanted out of Martin Emerson this season. He's covering the bigger body receivers. He's making like plays in matchups. But so yeah, I agree. He was cooking. This week he took a big step, and there were others.
There were others that decided to get in the interception crowd. Rayshon Jennings and Ronnie Hickman. Jenkins. I love Hickman. I really do. Not just because he's an Ohio State guy, but I think he has a lot of upside. And the fact that he's an undrafted free agent also shows that Barry did what he could do with the limited resources in the draft because of that horrible trade that we did. And Hickman is a result of that. So hopefully he can get a second contract coming in here. But those 3 guys stepped in and stepped up, man. They picked, was it 4 turnovers? So plus 4 in the turnover ratio. That's a win.
I want to see that more. I want to see more of that this year. The defense stepping up, making big plays like that
this is a game for another day. But I had a big debate going back and forth with somebody on X, an account you guys would probably know, and basically like not going to call anybody out.
Wait, you arguing with somebody? No.
He debated that Andrew Berry was given a incredible roster, and we talked about that last week. He was given an incredible roster and is basically fallen apart, and he's added no talent since. I got a question. If you guys had to guess, just a range, where do you think Ronnie Hickman and Grant Delpit rank right now, 6 games?
Well, I saw that in the beginning of the year. I'm going to say they rank in the top 25.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
You want to erase the 2 because they both rank in the top 5 right now.
That's even better. Let's
ranked
go.
Number 3 overall for safeties in grade, and that includes coverage and runs and tackling. And Grant Delpit is currently ranked 5th out of 83 eligible safeties. These 2 safeties are playing so incredible this year, and they've taken such a step forward. And I love it because Grant Delpit has been trying to be a leader on this team. You could tell for the last year or 2. And finally, I think he's putting up the play where when he says something, the whole locker room is going to listen. Awesome for them. Those guys were cooking this week, and we had a whole group of guys that were just out there having fun.
Yeah, and you can see when that pick 6 happened, Miles threw his hands up in the air like this, and he was like, finally, the defense did something. Excited. You could just feel like the weight come off his body. Like we finally we finally capitalized. Someone caught an interception, and we're going to score finally. All the hard work paid off. Speaking of the defense, we're about to get into the game recap. Brought to you by Doug White from Allstate Insurance Agency. If you need a insurance rate, if your insurance is a little too high, give Doug White a call. Let him know the Beer Brown sent you. Speaking of insurance, I think Miami's going to have to pick up some insurance, some liability insurance for that offensive line after this game, because this defense totally knocked out, not literally, Tua out of this game. The run game, they knocked out. They had a couple big runs here and there with their backs, but the defense got it together. The red zone offense, you guys talked about this Saturday. They were 80% in the red zone. The defense was. They jumped up, or jumped down, depending on the way you look at it, to 70%. So they didn't allow them to score any touchdowns, just 2 field goals when they're in zone. So shout out to them. Delpit, Baker, and Garrett with sacks, 4 total, 11 tackles for losses. Keep the red zone clear of touchdowns, only giving up 2 field goals, and the defense only gave up 227 total yards. What do you guys say about that?
Again, we got to think that we were playing the worst team in the league as of right now. But
Yeah.
I will take a win that was well earned and deserved. I like to see the defense do what they did. That was amazing. Us running the ball seemed to run the clock a little bit faster, so the gameplay itself seemed a lot faster, minus the 3 and outs. But it gave the defense a chance to breathe and get back out there. I liked it, and we got to move that into Gillette Stadium this week.
So yeah, the Miami Dolphins aren't very good, but there was a huge thinking before this game that this was not going to be a blowout by the Browns. So I hate looking at it as just Miami's not very good, because if the Browns won this game like I predicted, 13-20, I feel like, wow, the Browns beat a really bad team by 1 score, meaning that they're a little better than a really bad team. I think the fact that defense came out and absolutely dominated a team with, Gordon A-Chain, however you pronounce that name that I always say wrong, Waddle. Tua is not having a great year, but he's the type of kind of steady, dish it out quarterback that does a lot of screens and slants that I thought could be the type of quarterback that could still survive in a terribly windy game. He doesn't have a cannon, but he just kind of like is more of a point guard quarterback that just dishes it out and lets his playmakers make plays. There are 18 players on the Cleveland Browns with a defensive score of 67, which is kind of like my cutoff for very good. 18 different Browns players had a score of 67-92. That's by far, as good as this defense has been, their best defensive performance. So I don't think you even look at just those 4 turnovers, because you think of that turnover like Campbell, he made a play. Also, the defense helps force those turnovers. That coverage and that pass getting tipped up for Campbell to get it. This is just a way to look at, Denzel was nowhere near that play, but he's scoring well because he's doing his assignment on the other side of the field. It's just one of those games where you're like, okay, the defense brought it together, and it wasn't just boom plays and then they gave something up. And this is that kind of defense often, where like they make a ton of big plays, they make a bunch of boom plays, they terrorize the quarterback, and then when they don't get there, maybe because of their man coverage and the dependency on the pressure, they give up a 60-yard touchdown, right? They're just sort of been that kind of defense occasionally, or they give up an 80-yard drive to the Vikings. This was a game in terrible weather where they just like were never going to give the Dolphins a chance. And so
Yeah.
I'm pretty hyped about just the overall vibe of the defense against a bad team, like taking it to them like you would hope that they would do.
Yeah, going back to Campbell real quick, according to Next Gen Stats, he had 28 coverage snaps, 2 targets, 0 receptions allowed, and that interception for a touchdown. That's pretty solid. Pretty solid for a guy that you're going to have control over for the next couple of years.
For a guy that wasn't in the building for more than 2 practices before the last time you shoved him out there.
Yeah, he was pretty decent. Pick 6. Let's get into the the defense, 219 yards. That's good. And here's the thing I want to talk about the defense real quick. They play really good at home. I've been putting some stats together. I meant to put it on for tonight, but I didn't have enough time. Their road defense needs to step up a little bit better. So that's what worries me going into New England. Like, you played lights out at home. They even did that last year, kind of lights out at home. But once you're on the road, for some reason, there's some things happening. Hopefully Schwartz will clean that up. Because, like we said, Drake May ain't no slouch, man. He's no Tua. He's going to make you pay. He's got a cannon. But let's get into the clip of the week, brought to you by Lego Heads Barber Salon, located in Berea, Ohio. Go there and get a clip.
Here we go. Oh.
Give it to me, too. Give it to me, too. Come on! Come on! Let's go, brother. Lay on, boys.
What was amazing about that play is we talked about him, Hickman. It was an undrafted free agent. He diagnosed the play, read it correctly, and made a play on it. That is why he's top 5 as a safety. And the tremendous growth that he has created from last year to even this year shows that, yes, Barry may miss a couple here and there, but I think this is where, and if we really technically want to look at it and during the offseason, we can't, where he kind of could make up for Sika Ika in the 3rd round that he missed. Like, getting these undrafted free agents to play well, he can make up for it. But yeah, great call by him. He said he called it.
That's not putting any shame on Tyson Campbell's pick 6. That was just an immediate.
The clip is just a fun clip. My favorite thing about that clip, because it's not our best interception, Tyson Campbell's interception, went in the end zone. That to open the second half when you're only up by, what was it, 13-6? If they or was it 9-3? What was it? We were a score away from this being a legit game, and Tyson Campbell with that pick 6 just shrunk that. Like, they were done. It was like that was our chance to come out, even the score, get back in this. But this pick, what I loved about the clip was, first of all, if you're watching it, guys, if you're just listening, you wouldn't see it. But if you're watching it, when they're all screaming and laughing and yelling at the end of it, the caption is happy noises.
Yeah.
Is that like, give it to me too? And then the caption goes to happy noises. I just love, like, a group of guys who are saying, dude, it's so frustrating. We're forgetting what winning feels like. Like, it's not a habit for us. Like, it's just we're winning too few games and too far between. To see when they're playing well, how they're immediately energized, screaming together, laughing together. He ran that play out, fought for some extra yards, stood up, and 9 other defenders were surrounding him to, like, celebrate with him. And it's just an idea of what this defense can look like if this team gets cooking. And they're not, there's a couple guys getting up there in age. I guess Miles, you'll have guys like Shelby Harris getting older. Malik Collins is getting older, although you can't tell it on the field. He looks freaking phenomenal. But the idea is the majority of this defense is pretty young and either before or in their prime, with a few exceptions. This is if you can get this guys going, this is not a 1-year thing for this group.
Not at all. Do you guys want to get right into the offense now? The nitty-gritty?
Yeah, let's get into the offense. The defense, Miles finally was able to to kind of pin his ear. He said that last week he said it must be nice to have a lead to pin your ears back and just go after the quarterback like Pittsburgh did. And he actually did it this week, and he ended up getting a sack, which was good to see. By the way, a lot of stories are coming out saying the Monday after the Pittsburgh game, Kevin came in with some emotion. And Kevin confirmed that to be true. And he said sometimes the Philly guy comes out. So hopefully the Philly guy put some fear in some of that offensive line. And even Joe came out saying he loved the way the offense came the offense played this week. So that leads into the offense. We're going to talk about the offense. We're going to start with Dylan Gabriel. 13 of 18, 116 yards, 89 QBR. QBR. He did what he needed. And this is the frustrating part as a fan, because most fans think you need a quarterback to throw for 300, 400 yards. And I was
Nice.
for record, I was on the last week's show criticizing. So for me to sit there and say there's some things that he needs to clean up, and we'll probably hit it here, but he played well enough to keep you in the game. Now, there's stuff that he needs to still learn. 100%. 100%. He's not the perfect quarterback. But he one thing that appeals to him, and a lot of fans don't understand, is the fact that he has not thrown the ball to the opposite team and they haven't caught it yet. Now, there's a stat in here I'll share later that kind of scares me a little bit. It says, well, maybe once they start catching on to him, it can go the other way. Yeah. But Dylan Gabriel played pretty good. PFF score of 47.6 on the passing grade of 48.6 and the run grade of 52.8. Not great.
Not good.
Not great. Good. But he did not hurt you.
I would say this.
Twice. Yes. Hold on. Twice. The one interception got called back because of penalty. And the one that went right through his hand, or right through the defender's hands.
Judy made a good play on that too.
No, Judy was surprised he caught it. You see, like, she was like, "Oh, I got the ball."
It. Yeah, Judy snapped it.
Let me turn around and get the first down here.
On that interception that got called back, I felt fine about that because that was definitely a penalty. I think it was on Harold Fannin. And so it was like, okay, fine. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's going to play long enough that, like, if he's putting the ball in harm's way, it's going to get nabbed at some point. Obviously, you don't just get away with that forever. But I will say, to his defense, he did not have a good game. I didn't expect him to have a good game. Once I heard it was going to be really windy, I was like, okay, they're not going to throw very much. When they do, it's going to be pretty dangerous. But then you look at him versus an established veteran on the other side of the field in Tua, and you just think, you know, they turned the ball over 4 times. He turned the ball over none times. I want him to have a much better game. That's an awful PFF score. And also, he didn't do anything impressive pretty much for that whole game, except for finally took off running twice, where he at least lets people know, like, if you're going to let me out in the open, I'm going to run a little bit. And one of them was for a first down. The other one just a couple of yards and down. But the biggest point to what you said earlier, Angel, is the Browns came into this game the Browns came into Dylan Gabriel in a giant negative in the turnover margin. Do you know what they're at now?
They should be +1. Oh, 0?
0.
Yeah, it was
so they were, at one point, they were way down in the turnover margin. And now they've gotten, I think, 6 turnovers in the last 6 turnovers in the last 3 games since Dylan came in, and he's turned the ball over 0 times, which means, despite the fact that he has not been very good, the one thing that Kevin likes about him is
he's safe.
He protects the ball, and you imagine, even if he played kind of hoop football for the first couple weeks, if Flacco was turning the ball over once or twice every game. And I know everybody's stuck on that Steelers game where he played pretty well, but that's not what he was looking like here.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting shaken by the rush, and he was doing his panic moves and turning the ball over. We don't have a chance to win games if we turn the ball over. It's just not going to happen. So Dylan needs to be much better, but the one thing I think you can hang your hat on for him is he's not turning the ball over. So as long as he can keep that trend going and get better at the other things, you've got a guy that can help you win some games. And
not only that, we knew going into this game, everybody was chanting, "Run the ball, Kevin, run the ball. That's all you got to do. Run the ball. You win this game." That's what we did.
Yep.
13 for 18. It's not bad considering you ran the ball majority of the time. Yes, we weren't getting big chunk yards. I know Junkins got the one where he took off, and that was great. But 13 for 18 passes isn't completely horrible when you're running the ball continuously. So
Yeah, what I would like to see though out of Dylan is there's a couple of plays I texted to you guys after watching the film. I would say 5, maybe 2, definitely 3 is kind of like, well, I can understand he's still learning the field, but the routes in which the running backs were open, way open on the left, there was a weird route. The first time it happened was Ford. He was open, could have hit him for a touchdown. For me, what was disappointing was they came back with the same play because it worked so well. They said we're going to come back, but with Junkins this time, he runs the same route. Instead of throwing it to him, he runs. He had time. There was nobody around Junkins. This is where I think to myself, if he's a quick processor, why isn't he processing this? So that makes me not fearful, because I think he's going to be a good backup, like we've been saying this whole year. But I would like to see his growth in that, like learn from that one play, especially if you know it's the same scheme. It's the same scheme last time Ford was open. Let me look there first. And I think a
And
lot of
that's what I was
times,
saying, like, that's gotta be what the film review is for. That's gotta be their film time because you now let's just say Dylan plays, 8 games. I know a lot of people think, like, he'll eventually, if we don't have a good record, they're eventually gonna take a look at Sanders. Mike's convinced it's for sure. I'm not so sure. I think it's dependent more on how he plays and how the team is feeling. But the reality is you're gonna get I don't think any of us expect without an injury, you're not gonna get at least 8 games of him. And so you can watch and see if there's progression in those things. So I'm not going to be so worried of how that looks the first 4 weeks as much as I will in the next 4 weeks. Is that stuff going away? Or are we saying these repetitive problems where he's not learning, he's not getting told what he did wrong? Because they're going to do that they're going to go over every inch of that film and he's got to hear it, absorb it, practice it, and then go out and fix it. And so, like, yeah, I'm very curious. I expect more passing probably next week. I expect better weather. I expect they're going to have to pass because I think it'll be a tighter game. And so that'll be your first 4-game sample. I'm very curious to see how the following 4 looks
Mhm.
and whether he can learn something.
Yeah. So yeah, he definitely needs. He's 34th right now in big time throws, which is 2. He's turnover worthy passes. Sorry, 4.6%, which is the 6th highest in the NFL. That's what scares me. I mean,
Yeah.
you got
A lot.
6th highest. I mean, that's a lot. He needs to take that down. I hope like he gets away from this game, goes into that bye week, and learns from. There's a lot more stats, but I'm not going to beat a dead horse with Dylan right now. But I'm carefully watching him and hoping that he improves. It's not. I do think for the sake of throwing downfield, they might have to turn it over to Shador, unfortunately.
And
But
another negative positive is he doesn't seem to go downfield. The positive side of that is when he throws, he's obviously can launch the ball. He's throwing darts when he throws short ones. So, and I didn't expect any down the field throwing this week, but I think that's the next thing we have to see is, A, can he start learning from some of these misses and actually get the ball? He likes to deliver the ball quick, but can he do it when these guys are popping wide open?
yes,
Even if they're not an early read,
and
which often, like on a wheel route, that probably wasn't an early read. That flat route was probably a later read. But can he get to it quicker now?
yeah.
And the other
So
side is we
yep.
got to see him go downfield at some point. I don't need to see it
Yeah,
today.
an opportunity to do at least 3 that I saw on tape where the
Mhm.
guy was open. I think, and we talked about this earlier, I think he's looking at his first read a little too long. And I think
Maybe.
that first read, and I think there's a lot of pressure with Jerry Judy right now to get chemistry. And I think one of those real routes where he forced Judy had double coverage and he bumped into the DB and the ball just dropped in front of him. I think he's trying to get that chemistry going. We'll talk about that a little later with Judy, but I think he needs to break himself of that and just throw to the guy that's open.
Mhm.
Just don't fall
Gotta
into
be
that
natural.
trap. Yeah. On to some better news. We got ourselves a legitimate running back in Junkins, huh? Scored 2 or 3 times in the red zone. 25 carries, 84 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1.6 yards per carry without those explosive plays. But you have to account the explosive plays, people. You have to. I don't like when people say, well, if you take away those 3, he's only averaging like 30 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And I say, if you do
you
that
can
with
do that with
every,
anybody running back.
do that with
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley too. Do that with everybody, and that's what running back looks like. It's very uncommon for running back to actually run for 4 yards a carry. It's usually 2s and 3s and 1s, and then you break a 10-yarder, and your yards per carry pops up 2 yards a carry.
Give us the Eagles line, see what he can do with that.
And that's the
Yeah.
other thing is, So first of all, a little credit to the line. This was by
They play
far their
better.
best game.
Yep.
And the defense for the Dolphins is bad. And so you could make the argument, well, they played a shitty defense compared to they've been playing monster defenses. The Lions, the Packers, even when they were playing the Ravens were still going at it. The Steelers, that everybody loves Brian Flores' defense in Minnesota. They have been playing monster defenses shorthanded. But this week, again, they played a lesser defense, and they probably need that at some point to get themselves going. And I've said this a bunch of times. If you just shuffled the schedule this year and you wouldn't have had the same beginning games, even the teams we've played that are bad, the Bengals, the Ravens, they had at least Lamar and Burrow back then, so they were more challenging teams to play. But I think the fact that the Dolphins were bad, great. A bunch of teams played the Browns, and you're not going to take away their credit because they beat the Browns, and the Browns have been bad. You play who's in front of you, and you got to look at the schedule over a bigger sample, and this was a good one for the line. Teller stepped up. He had his best game. KT Levinson looked like an actual NFL lineman for the first time since I've ever seen him. Batonio had a rough first 2 weeks, and he has looked incredible since. I don't know what his PFF scoring is, but I've seen him both on PFF since and on the film, and he looks so much younger than he looked weeks 1 and 2. I think it's just the lack of preseason and that older veteran having to get a rhythm, and maybe some of the problems with the injuries next to him caused him to have to work a little different. But the line has been better, and if they can continue to play even a similar level, Quinshon Judkins looks like he's going to be a problem.
Yeah. And that's going to be a
everyone.
problem for the upper team instead of us. One thing that Kevin did do with the offensive line is he changed out he did turns with the left tackle, Livingston and the other guy. He switched them out. So, I mean, we give crap to Kevin for not adjusting, not doing certain things, not play calling, whatever.
He was better today.
Yeah, he's improved. He improved from the Pittsburgh game on. They made some changes. Speaking of changes, throw up that Dylan chart that I forgot to get to. This is a big change.
Really quick. KT Leviston got a 71.9 in his run block this week.
Yeah, he is a much better run blocker than Cornelius Lucas, and I think the switching was if it's definite pass plays, maybe Lucas gets more time.
Play call.
But Levinson's who they want going forward. He's younger. He's powerful. He's their kind of developmental right tackle.
Some stacked metrics, you nerds.
Yeah, some stacked metrics, nerds. So against the against the Steelers, if you can notice the big difference, play action, no screens. Look at screens and play action, very small. But against the Dolphins, that's a smaller sample size because he didn't throw it 90,000 times, which is a good thing. But as you can see, the screens and the play actions were called plenty. And that is what you need to do with Dylan Gabriel. Right there is a perfect play call for him. Now he was 13 of 18, right? Yeah, 13 of 18. Maybe you can bump it up to 25 against the Pats and see what else happens. But you need a lot more play action and a lot more screens. You cannot let him drop back and throw without motion, without anything. So shout out to Kevin for realizing that. It took him 2 games. But shout out to Kevin for realizing we can't let this little dude throw 80,000 times. Yeah. We're gonna let Q run it. And Joe Batonio said it was a great game plan. He enjoyed it. So hopefully they can stick with it with New England. The only difference is they're going to have to change some things up. You can't keep the same look. The reason why is because teams are going to catch on. They're going to stack the box 80. They're going to keep on stacking the box with 8, which, by the way, Miami did. And I'm scrolling down to get the stats. So give me a second. I'm mumbling here. So yeah, Dylan, nope. I passed it. 98%. Nope, that's not it. Anyways, yeah. So I don't
Yeah,
even know
for
what
the
I'm trying to
record,
look for.
other people could just talk while you're scrolling. You could just say, "Let me find this," while you guys say
Mm.
something.
Yeah, you guys say something while I look
You're
for
like,
something that's
nope,
very
that's it.
important. No,
89.
that's
Nope.
this is not
Just
good
call. Give us a
content. Go
signal.
ahead. No. Oh yeah, the Dolphins stacked the box 52% of the time with 8. So I look to the other defenses to mimic that. They're going to stack the box more than half the time, maybe even increase it to 60, forcing Dylan to throw more. And this is why it's important to Dylan to diagnose the defense and look at the open guy, because you need to get off your first read quicker. He had 3 seconds to throw. 3 seconds this week to throw the ball. So he had plenty of time to find the open receiver.
Yep.
That's credit to the offensive line. That's why I threw that in there. So
Yep.
offensive line, big change. Shout out to Kevin for changing that left tackle back and forth based upon scheme. Smart
And I
guy.
think in addition to Kevin, like this was so we need to see more of this. I've been my criticism of Kevin has mostly been like he just has to know what he's working with in game plan to like the lack of talent, which is tough. It's tough to ask somebody to like, yeah, you need to game plan for the fact that your quarterback's not good in your line of sight. It's just hard that you don't have Judkins the first week and you were kind of counting on him to the way you wanted to run your offense. There's been all these issues, but this is a positive sign. I think I agree with Angel with the idea that Kevin adjusted his game plan to the weather. He adjusted how he was going to utilize Dylan to the weather. He adjusted the actual offensive line personnel to the situations. People might have noticed for the first game, Isaiah Bond has been out there like 87% of the snaps. This was the least they've used him. Why? Likely
Wind.
because he's more of a downfield threat and he's more of a speed receiver. And this wasn't a we're going to get the ball downfield game. So they put in guys like Malachi Corley. They put in extra linemen. They doubled up on tight ends. So like seeing all the different things he did this game to account for this exact defense they were playing, the weather, the personnel was promising. If we can start seeing that again, that will feel much more like the Kevin I thought we had in the first 3 years of his tenure compared to last year when it was a nightmare.
I agree. Yeah, anything else to add for QJ there, Mike?
No, I want to see more of that kid. I think
I
once
do.
we get a better offensive line, you're going to see the Nick Chubb-esque come back. That's what it's going to be.
So
we're
could
gonna
I will
we,
say, so
big
just as a
runs.
side note, because we talked about this earlier, I was very skeptical of even comparing him to Nick Chubb because Nick Chubb was on a Hall of Fame type career before
Yeah.
that injury, and he was just, I mean, he was on pace to be one of the maybe the greatest running back in Browns history after Paul Brown, and we've got a line of great running backs. That's one thing this franchise has just done well, and like he was just
I
on pace,
agree.
just breaking records, yards after contact. My negative was like I just didn't see Quinshon Judkins' top end speed being the same as Chubb, and I didn't see him as quite as explosive. But he's looked pretty explosive enough to at least have the conversation. And he on that 40-yard run, I literally said, like, oh, as he's running in my head, I was like, oh, it looks like somebody's gonna catch him. And he kind of tipped and kept his pace and was able to get to the end zone. I was like, oh, like that's a surprise because I kind of thought that was his one downside that kept him out of the first round was he somebody was going to catch him. He didn't have full breakaway speed. And you could say what you want about the Dolphins. Nobody has ever accused them of not being fast. And so I felt pretty good seeing him on a decent field, which, by the way, Pittsburgh, get your shit together. We had a windy, rainy day, and the field looked totally fine. And you guys had a dry day, and everyone was just falling, slipping everywhere. But anyways, I digress. But I am ready to say, like, I think next gen stats had him clocked at like 21.4 miles an hour, which Nick Chubb's speed used to be around 21.9 or 22. And I'm like, that's not that far off a half-mile-an-hour difference.
Let me
Did he
make a good point for you real quick, guys. Everybody in the beginning during the draft wanted Travion Henderson. Remember that?
I was going to bring that up next. Good. This
And
is how you
now-
know we worked together a very long time because you read my
Yeah.
mind.
And boom, here we are. with an elite running back compared to Travion Henderson, and I'm thoroughly happy with what we chose. And this whole draft for Barry was good, but
Yeah.
that pick in itself was showing itself right now.
It's the
Not to
reason that
say-
it's
not
okay
to
to give your opinion, but it's always worth like taking a breath and saying, let's see how it happens. Because I also actually preferred Henderson, but I like Judkins' fit for us better. And we made that pretty clear draft day. I get the Judkins pick for us. If we had Chubb uninjured and like a little younger in his career, I think you probably do go Henderson because you're like, wow, what a mix. Judd fits here. Henderson was that dynasty decision I had to make, whatever pick I picked, sixth in my draft. And I picked Judkins over Henderson, and it was so hard to do. But I was like, but it's obviously a great pick. That's a good point, Mike. Like if you're looking at the two, I think Henderson will be fine. I think he'll be explosive. For everybody that freaked out, take a breath. Judkins is a pretty great running back. He
Yeah,
leads all backs in the leagues, and he barely played the first 2 games.
Yep.
If a,
We got a lot of people were upset. Not a lot. A large portion, like a small portion, was upset. Like we should have got, and even to like with the whole suspension thing, they're like, "See, told you Henderson would have been a better choice. Henderson would have been." And
I've
then,
heard bust.
yeah, I don't even know. Like, I'm not saying Henderson won't be good. I don't know if he's had opportunity yet in New England. Again,
much.
right now we can sit there and say Jenkins is in the lead by a lot.
But you
So-
know why he hasn't gotten the opportunity? Because they have Ramondre Stevens, and what they want is a 3-down back. They want a definitely 2-down, but potentially 3-down back out there, and that's what Vrabel's history has been. And so, no, he hasn't gotten a ton of opportunities. I don't think that means they don't like him or they're not going to use him, but it does show you Travion
Yeah.
Henderson's best position is probably not that lead back, and that's what the Browns were putting in place. And so, don't sleep on Henderson. I'm still looking for him in Dynasty, but I
All right,
like.
I'm going to make you guys more of a nerd right now. All right. Right now, Travion is like a 52. Okay.
Lower than I would have thought.
Quinshawn Junkins is 77.3. Judkins is 9th out of 53. Guys, can you guys guess where Henderson's at?
52.
At that score,
is 52.
bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I study
And again,
PFF now, man. I tell you, I
he
study
plays
all I
special
watch.
teams.
That's
He
all I
does
watch.
some other stuff, but Quinshawn is the best scoring full-time player on our team, on the
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah.
He's
Clearly.
our best week after week scoring, and our most productive offensive player, just above Joel Bitonio, who, as I said, is having like a renaissance. He's just playing great football.
That dude put up more points than we have since that Denver game last year alone in one game.
Yeah.
3 scores.
Speaking
do.
of young,
Wildcat. Sorry,
Yeah.
Angel.
speaking of young talent, that's going to blossom well in this wonderful offensive ours here in Cleveland for the next couple of years. Harold Fannin Jr. 4 receptions, 36 yards. Matter of fact, 8 players had receptions, including Corley and Gage. So
Boy.
that is that's encouraging from a quarterback perspective because you're not relying on one. So she shout out to Dylan for seeing who you need to throw to. But the issue is Jerry Judy has some issues with drops. And what seems to be, I added this myself, not you guys could disagree or not, chemistry issues with Dylan Gabriel, where I feel I've read some stories that they've been staying out later after practice to build up chemistry, which is a good thing. But it's a problem if you're trying to force it. That's when you get the whole play where Judy bumps into a defender and you still throw it to him anyways.
And I think his forcing it may just be like looking to, because it's not like he's beating him 19 passes in a game and not throwing to anybody else. He threw to 8 other receivers.
Like Joe Flacco did.
Yes, sometimes.
Chase.
He's like, I'm going to throw to this guy. Like, I remember when quarterbacks who just weren't good at reading the field, like Fields, would only throw to DJ Moore. And it didn't matter if it was like the only guy he was willing to go to. And it's because he has some struggles reading the field. He threw his top target's Harold Fannin. He loves Harold Fannin. He gets the ball to Harold Fannin. Again, in this game where they weren't throwing much, he got 4 throws to Harold Fannin. I just think he's looking to Judy, and it's just not working out yet. I do appreciate that they're trying to make it work. You want to get the ball into the hands of a guy you know has done it before and can do it. And if they're staying out, putting in the work, I just want it to happen organically. I don't want them to try to force it on the field, force it at practice. And the other thing is, I've said for weeks, I think Jerry Jeudy is pressing.
Yeah.
He somehow caught the most difficult pass that's been thrown to him this year, even though
It's
he's
like a
dropped
David Njoku
a
thing.
ton of them off of his chest. So I'm like, maybe we start throwing more difficult passes. I don't know.
No, let me tell you.
But
I'm going to tell you guys something. So you remember Brett Favre throwing bullets back in the day, and his receivers were complaining about them hurting their
Yeah.
hands too hard, and that's just like he throws them. He throws bullets, man.
darts them. He does dart them, and he might have to learn to dial back. The shorter throw, I can get it there. I don't need to like blast it at Isaiah Bond's head, or So there's just got to be some execution adjustments, and they've got to all get. Again, remember, this guy didn't practice as the number one throughout August like a normal guy. He didn't come in until 3 weeks ago. This is what you wonder of like his development, and he couldn't do it. That was never the plan. What I'm saying is that's got to happen now in short practice weeks and games. What happened for a lot of guys who you thought was going to, take the majority of your snaps over the summer, and it'll be nice to see if he can progress through that. But there's definitely a lot to fix in the passing game.
Great. On to the Browns and the weather game. So it was rainy. A lot of people were shouting, "No dome, no, no dome." But it's an interesting thing that you brought up during the pregame, Chad. That I was at a wedding, so I couldn't see the field. I was watching on my phone before I got to the wedding, but I couldn't see the stands in the fourth quarter because I was doing baby duty. But you can tell me, even with the win, even with us having a big lead, we're the fan. I'm pretty sure the fans were there cheering, excited because we haven't won in years. It felt like years at home. So how was the crowd in the fourth
Guys
quarter?
were excited. People were there. Everybody had a poncho on. You knew the rain was coming down early. I think it cleared up at the end. It wasn't as bad as it was the beginning. And by the way, I think the Browns anticipated it would get worse, and that's what the weather forecast seemed like. I think the reason they took the ball is because they're like, let's get whatever we can out of this team because this is going to get bad. And it actually ended up clearing up later. So the irony was we may have played better against the Dolphins as it cleared up, when I think everybody kind of thought, oh, the best part of the game for the Browns will be when it's really messy. So that didn't play out. But it did strike me at the end of the game. There's a couple minutes left. Dylan's getting ready to go out for his final like drive to ice everything off. And they just had the camera out and you could just see the stadium's empty. And like, props to the fans for showing up in the rain to a team with 1 win in 5. But in a normal situation, like this was a game that you thought was winnable, and I expect Browns fans to tackle the weather to get there. But it did bring up the obvious thought at the end that everybody kind of left, and in a better weather situation, I think everybody sticks around. They watch that final kneel. They get to go a little crazy after beating a team by 25 and blow it. It's not just a win. It's not just a win against a bad team. It's the first blowout they've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And when you blow a team out at home, you stick around for it. And it was just pretty telling that people didn't. So I doubt that it's just because they're over this team. I have to imagine it's because they're soaking wet and freezing and just like, I've had enough. Great job, everybody. Time to hit the showers.
Thank you, Weatherman Chad. I'll get right to it. Easy. Mine's easy. 87 wins, 124 losses, and 1 tie. Build a damn dome already. Get over it. All the fans will stay there. Boom. Mic drop. We're done.
I wonder if
You heard
also-
Eric Metcalf. You heard
Yeah.
Eric Metcalf. No way. Get me in a dome any chance I got.
Yeah.
I wonder if most of those fans were Miami fans too that bought those tickets because of Browns fans just thinking they were going to play. I mean, they were going to
There was
lose.
some there.
and
It
not
was
playing
pretty. It
well.
looked pretty orange and brown though through
Yeah.
the early portions of the game when they were able to hit the crowd. Like I said, everybody had a poncho, whether it was an orange
Yeah.
one or clear
Soaking
one.
wet.
Everybody was covered.
It was
I
a-
got this one, Angel. I got this.
Okay.
So the big poll we put up on X this week was, should the Browns have put Sanders in at the last 4 minutes? Because we had 3 drives, one at 6 minutes, one at 4 minutes, and one at 2 minutes, I believe. Should have Sanders played in any of those drives? And 82% of you said no, 18% said yes. And I could see where most of you people say no, and I could also see where some say yes. And my point for yes would be is the game's out of reach. It's like I was talking to Barry Shuck earlier, and he told me it's the golden rule, the unwritten rule where, after you're so far ahead in the NFL game or college is the same, you put in your second or third string quarterback. We don't do that. And I get why, because Dylan Gabriel's first win, you let him soak that in. You let that kid get his first win. It's not baseball where you just switch a pitcher to your closer. You know what I mean? That's not what this is. I wanted that kid to get his first win, get a taste of it, get that winning feeling, go into your locker room, pump your guys up, and do it again next week. Do I think putting Shador in would have been a bad idea? Not necessarily, because if something were to happen to Dylan, it would have been a shit show either way. We would have gotten yelled at, and everybody would have been out here barking how bad he was, handing the ball off. So that's my go on that.
Well, I was thinking that too. Where Dylan's first game, you want him to complete the first game, his first victory. You don't want to put someone else on that for him to not enjoy it. Also, too, there's no point because he'll come out and what if he struggled? People will say, "See, he's not ready."
He would have been handing the
if he
ball
would
off,
have been,
though. That's it.
If he would have been good, true. But if he would look good handing the ball off, they would have said he looked good handing the ball off.
Somebody's going to bring it up.
Or they would have been upset saying, you didn't let him throw the ball. So either way, it's a lose-lose. So just don't play him. Also, too, they've said it. We're not going to play Shador until he has a week full practice that is designated for him, game plan specific, and we're not going to let him play. And why risk it? He might slip, twist an ankle, and then definitely the Shador fans will be out picketing down there at the stadium saying how bad this organization is. God forbid something that happens.
The biggest thing you can get out of this poll, though, I think, is the fact that I sort of expected. I mean, I think it just shows like 82% of people thought, why would you possibly do that? And I think it just dispels the idea that there's this pile of people dying to see Sanders. Everybody knows I had Sanders. Everybody had Sanders rated higher than Dylan Gabriel, in an expectation for being a better prospect. But I've also held steadfast to all the signs show that they would rather develop him and they see more long-term upside than they see short-term play. I just think this dispels the idea that 90% of the fan base is dying to see Shador. Obviously not, or more people in this poll would have said throw him in for a series. And I just think this shows people aren't that obsessed with him being in there.
I think opposite. I think they want him to play. I've been seeing a large influx of people say, "Don't play him this year because I don't want Kevin to ruin him." So this is my argument with that, and I want to know what you guys think of this. Do you think Shador's best chance to play is with this organization as a Brown or with a different organization as a Brown?
That's not that nobody knows. We're not going to know until he plays.
I mean, I'll just go back to all the draft takes from Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, guys who thought differently of him, but both thought he would probably go sometime in the first round. Guys like Daniel Jeremiah said it. There were so many people that said Shador Sanders can be a good NFL quarterback, but needs to be in the right system. And there is a dozen analysts out there who said the best thing that could happen to him is him playing a Kevin Stefanski style offense. So this idea that like Kevin could ruin him, weird, because all the people that actually liked him for the draft think that this is the person he should be with. So I just don't get that disconnect. But also, I challenge people all the time. You can say what you want about Deshaun Watson and how he turned out. I always bring up he was playing well enough. He never had any consistent time out there, and he is also like the most odd example to use a guy that played like 5 or 6 games over a 4-year span here is just not going to be a good example for anything. But show me the other guy who Kevin ruined. Like who has left here and been ruined by
We
Kevin?
almost
Either
made a
Kevin
whole
has
show without Deshaun
elevated
Watson's
somebody.
name.
Yeah, we elevate. You're the only one obsessed without saying Deshaun Watson's name, and you're the one that usually brings him up. I have no problem saying his name. He's on the team, and he's somebody that people refer to as like,
He's a curse.
that's a
Sorry.
guy Kevin ruined. I'm like, really? Because before he broke his shoulder, he was 4-1 that season. So I don't think he looked that ruined.
Also, there was a big influx of people saying that he was a one read quarterback in Houston
right
before that.
And
But yeah,
in reality, Baker obviously didn't ruin. Baker got elevated the year he came, and Baker's still good. Everyone, did you notice? And like Jacoby,
Not yesterday.
better here, worse gone. Joe Flacco, terrible before he got to Cleveland 2023. Giant boost. Like, I just don't know where the example is coming from where it's like Kevin has ruined a quarterback. So to your point, Angel, when somebody can show me this, Kevin's played with like 9 quarterbacks. When you can show me the list of the ones he's ruined, I would be more worried about him ruining Sanders.
well, my point is like if you think typically when an organization starts over, gets a new GM and a new coach, they typically get their own guy. So if you want Shador to be successful in Cleveland, you need to root for Kevin and AB to stay. Because if you think John Smith comes in as GM and Kerry Jobs coming in as your head coach, and they're going to want to keep Shador when this draft coming out has a long list of quarterbacks they maybe potentially they like, that's going to decrease his chance of playing as a Brown. So when people keep on saying, if I get rid of Kevin, get rid of AB, I think to myself, you're ruining this guy's quickest way to get in the NFL
probably.
because this is the team that drafted Shador. They
Look,
traded
nobody liked him
picks.
in the draft, and the only
Nobody
team that took him was us. And I know we found out later he had calls, but he
to
got calls from
other teams.
Yeah, he got calls from other teams who immediately wanted to make him their backup with a
Backup.
long-term starter. But also,
Yes.
if all these teams didn't like him in the draft and then haven't seen him anywhere but in the news with some of the shenanigans for the last couple of months, like they're not going to like him more. The only people that could possibly like him more are the people that are with him right now. Watching
Exactly.
him work.
Exactly.
So if
That's
he's
my
actually working
point.
and good, only one group will like him, and it's this group.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They traded up to pick him. They traded
right.
up in the 5th round to get him. They invested in him. They said there's a plan for Shador. They've made it known. Listen, we like the kid. And everybody's saying, get rid of the organization that picked him so he can play. It doesn't work like that. And it very rarely does a team that comes in with a new GM and new head coach that comes in and picks a quarterback that isn't established already. If you're winning Super Bowls and you get a new GM,
in a minute.
Yeah, they will start
him in a
all over from the bottom top. They'll keep Miles.
Right. We had Baker Mayfield here, and we got a new group in, and
they got rid of him.
Successful under them.
You guys want to know how to really fish, Chad?
Guy.
That is a
People
perfect
look for their own guy.
example. Perfect example.
D Podesta, Chad. D Podesta.
Hey, Mike.
D Podesta.
Like, what does D
But
Podesta do?
that is a
I don't know.
perfect
Nobody
example.
knows.
But Chad, no, that's a perfect example. Baker won here. Baker was loved here. New organization comes in, they got rid of him for another quarterback. People hate that.
I think
and
the
they love
craziest
Baker.
thing is he won here under them, and they still were
hated
in the background
like,
looking for their
How can we get rid
guy.
of this guy? Huh?
Like,
Let's get rid of this bum.
Like, we need our guy.
Yeah.
And it just, you see it everywhere. It's like, Sam Darnold gets drafted in, and he can clearly play, but he got drafted in New York, had like a couple rough seasons. There's some turnover. They move on. Daniel Jones, they move on. Like, guys move on, and they do have a chance to get success. But when that's the case, you're looking at these guys. It takes years. It takes 2 stops, 3 stops. Like, there's no guarantees. Even Shador's next stop would be the one. He may have to do one of these Geno Smith or Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield or Daniel Jones bounce arounds where he's on 3 teams in 2 years before anybody even gives him a chance, if ever. Zach Wilson's never gotten another chance. Like, some of these guys don't get another chance. Mac Jones left the Patriots 2-3 years ago. He's just got a chance because of an injury. Like, it just this thought of like not recognizing what happens all over the NFL, Angel. You're right.
Crazy.
Guys want their own guy. You don't want to be the guy who gets bounced around. You want to be the guy like Jalen Hurts, who they draft you. You don't get in right away. You go through this development on the sidelines, and then you get in with this team. If another team had taken over that team, maybe Carson Wentz is still the quarterback there, and it's Jalen Hurts that like they weren't impressed with, and he gets bounced around, and we never see what he becomes.
Yeah.
Because he just doesn't get that steady chance. So you're
The
right.
only way that
Not
would
rooting
work
for
out.
failure.
Yeah, the only way that would work out is if Haslam says to the next owner and coach, Shador's your guy. And then you're going to come back
Good
and say
chance. Getting a shitty owner.
Haslam is handpicking, is messing around in the background, which we don't want either. So either way, it's a lose-lose for Shador. You need to keep this. If you want Shador, you better hope we win 5 to 8 games, like we said, so this team can stay together and come in with Shador next year. Speaking of which, there's a media take before we get into special teams that Tony Rizzo came out and said that 2 sources told him that Shador should be playing by the Bears game. Now, there's a lot of questions with the 2 sources. It could have been the guy that mops the floor that overheard something in the hallway, or it could be the guy standing in the urinal next to Jimmy Haslam on the telephone that heard all this. Either way, the 2 sources told Tony Rizzo from 850 Cleveland, ESPN 850, that they're prepping Shador to start at least by the Bears game. So
I think that is
makes
a
sense. That gives him
believable
6
time
games.
he would start.
Yeah.
I believe that is a believable time for him to start if Dylan Gabriel hasn't proven to that point that they don't need to start Shador this year.
Yeah.
But I also question ESPN's Cleveland sources because I've heard Tony Rizzo and Tony Grossi complain about how they don't get any information from the organization like they used to. And then they come out and they're like, well, I've got these sources. And I'm like, really? Because you're constantly complaining that nobody will tell you anything anymore. And you miss the days when people would
tell you stuff.
Some information. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just get an owner like Carly or say Gordon that just doesn't give a shit and she sits on the sideline with a playbook in her hand and headphones on, not hiding in a booth somewhere?
Wait a minute. So you want a woman owner?
Look at Indianapolis right now.
Or you want a more involved owner?
More involved owner?
Yeah. Well,
women are hands-on.
Listen, I know she is very hands-on. She sits there with a playbook and a headset.
Hey, it works though.
On the sideline.
Look at their record. They took a chance.
All right, so here we go. Then let's go to like the Green Bay status where the fans own the team.
I wish. I think
all
people would sign for that in a minute.
Yeah. For the record, I would love a woman owner. I have 2 daughters, so I'm not sexist. I was just joking. I don't want people to cancel this show because I said that. But it's working for Indy, by the way. It's really working for Indy. They picked a quarterback that they have. Daniels seems to be working well with a great offensive line, and they're winning. Okay.
I wanted Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, and we went with Flacco.
We did say that, didn't we? In the preseason, during the offseason, give us Daniel Jones, and people were like, crazy.
Yeah, they thought we were crazy. They're like, this guy's a nightmare. And I said Mac Jones too. I was like, I want a first round. That's why I was okay with Pickett. I'm like, I want a first round guy, even if people think he's a reach in the first round, who has had some experience, who has shown some promise, and then who got jettisoned from his original team during like a bad time. Just the way that like Sam Darnold and you could even sort of say Baker Mayfield, they got jettisoned from their team after a bad year when the team was in some kind of flux. And that's the guy I want to bring in and try to rejuvenate. That's why I thought Flacco was a fun thought. And that injury led them to not trust making him the starter because they didn't want one of the rookies to have to come in week 2. But it's a bummer because we've talked about it. Those were guys we wanted, and we got blasted for liking either of those guys and like we got blasted enough for liking Pickett. We got like lambasted for suggesting bringing in Daniel Jones and Mac Jones, but they both played the style of football I thought we could use. They both had experience with similar offenses, and I was like, that's kind of the perfect guy to bring in for a rejuvenation project, and young enough, unlike Flacco, that if does show some promise, like Flacco shows promise, he's going to be in the same situation he was when we cut him the last time. If one of these guys shows promise, you can bet Indy's already negotiating with Daniel Jones.
For sure. He's about to get a second big contract too.
Mac Jones has the 49ers, I promise, wishing they hadn't given that giant contract to Brock Purdy because he looks like the same player.
They're the same player.
So
Yeah.
So,
So
before my owner comes in and smacks me up, let's get on to special teams.
special teams. Yes. Special teams, couple of highlight plays, kickoff fumble.
finally,
They make a play. Corey with 3 punts inside the 20. I just added this in case people want to know some fun stats. He's had 6 punts against the Dolphins. That gives him the league lead with 38 total punts on the season. Last year, he had 89 punts. He's on track to break that record this year
lot.
if they keep on. Yes, by a lot. If they keep on doing this.
This is the 1/3 of the season essentially.
Yeah, next week is halfway mark.
Yeah, we're
If
thinking
you
about
triple
changing the
that
show name to
number-
3 and Out podcast.
Oh.
Yeah. So, well, I'm gonna watch that. I was at a wedding and I was bored getting ready, watching the bridesmaids get ready. Not watching them,
Bored
but
on
waiting.
live, dude.
No,
Don't
But I
Again.
was with my son sleeping. I was looking up fun stats to say, and I said, "Holy crap! This dude can literally punt more than he did last year. This
Yeah.
is scary."
And again, we
But-
talked about it. Like Kevin needs to continue to adjust the game plan for better. Gabriel needs to be much better than he was this week. Although we give him forgivenesses because of the situation they're put in, but that doesn't carry forward. Like those situations are changing. They need to get better. This 38 punts, I would be blown away. They played the number 1 schedule in the NFL for the first 6 weeks of the season, and that's not only based on Vegas's projections for the team, but also the updated actual performance of the teams. So they played the number 1 schedule for the first 6 weeks. They're projected to play the number 22 schedule. So what you hope is that this is the heaviest punting time you have, and that Dylan improves, Stefanski improves, the offensive line comes around, Jerry Jeudy snaps himself out of whatever this funk is, and if he's ready, Sanders comes in and elevates the offense. And all of those things combined, I would not be shocked if we only punt 40 times for the rest of the year compared to the 38 we punted to start things off.
Yep.
I hope anyway.
Yeah, he's still got one more game to do the halfway mark, so we'll see where he's at next week. On to we won, so we got to name an alpha dog. Mike,
Presented by Cleveland Ketchup. If you guys want any great condiments, get them all at clevelandketchup.com. Use our code BEARDED for 10% off. But yeah, we have an alpha dog. Week 7, ladies and gentlemen. It is, can you guess? Anybody want to guess first?
Easy. Too easy.
Corey.
Quinshawn Junkins, 25 for 84 yards, 3 touchdowns. You guys all seen that Wildcat 2 touchdowns right after the pick and his first one. The second one was actually unsuccessful the first time, and then he did it again, and it worked. And I thought he was
Almost
gonna
fumbled the
fumble it.
snap, though.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
there's a
recovered quick.
picture of that. Whew.
He made a fun spin move too. Like I said,
Yep.
he shows really good balance and better agility than I would have expected. Normally 25 carries for 84 yards, that's not that crazy productive. It's actually, I think, his lowest yards per carry total game he's had this season. But you hit a hat trick with 3 touchdowns and you're getting the Alpha Dog award. Like, great job by the defense. All of the guys that did there was more of a team effort there. The guy that stood out in this game is the guy that put the ball in the end zone 3 times. And
Broke the record. He opened refrigerators in Cleveland all over again, just like Baker did. We
Yeah,
all
and
scored 21 points.
shout out to Kevin. Last week I said he needs to be more creative, and he got so creative that he busted out the Wildcat at the goal line. It caused some fans to react in a negative way, and then I had to respond, listen, all year we've been saying be creative, and this dude busts out the Wildcat and is successful, yet you're still complaining. You can't
Not once, but twice.
but twice. You can't get mad at somebody who hasn't been creative and finally comes in and says, you know what, let's be creative, and throws in the Wildcat,
here's the
and
thing.
it works.
Especially they were asking about it.
ragged on Dylan because they're like, well, you took Dylan off the field for those plays, so that must mean something terrible. Yeah, what it means is you have terrible blocking and you have an incredible running back, and you can bring in
Extra guy.
tackle or a tight end, your best blocking combinations out there, and now that you have a guy that like, I mean, if this, I wouldn't care if this becomes our tush push. If it's something in one, 4th and goal, 3rd and 1, whatever, and you're like, well, we know we can bring one extra blocker there and just punch
Then
it through
eventually
and
have
touch
them
it.
throw it.
Yeah, and then down the yeah, and again, that's a
I thought it
you
was going to
know
happen.
in the tush push scenario, like now you've taken Jalen Hurts' ability to throw or surprise anybody away, but what you also know is you're getting the first down, and
Yeah.
so that's what they're looking at. This is like, okay, we take away the trickery, we take away the could they play action? It could actually be a throw. They don't care. They just know this play is going to work and they're going to do it. And that's actually what a lot of us have been asking Kevin to do is don't try to outsmart the other team. Look at what you do well and just force that down their throat and find success in it.
Kevin said in his presser that he was going to not do that because the weather was supposed to be way worse, and they planned that for worse weather.
Nice.
But he said they were going to still just try to pull it off, see what happened, and it worked twice.
Yep.
So he took a couple of plays off of Pittsburgh's playbook, and he added an extra lineman this week on 22 of the 52 plays overall. That's 40.9% of the plays. He had an extra lineman on the field protecting or ready to one. That's the highest rate of any team this season. So I'm looking forward to more of that happening because he knows, I think they know what they need to do to win. And a lot of fans are going to be happy. I'm like, Dylan only threw 20 times and only got 199 yards. But we still won by 2 or 3 or maybe by 10. It doesn't matter. Just win, right? That's the name of the game is how you finish in the scoreboard. If you win, you get a win column. It doesn't matter how ugly it is. Unfortunately, that's where we're at.
It's what the team needs. They need wins.
Yeah, just wins. That's at this point, learning to win to build culture is more important than losing and building a higher draft pick. We've always said that from the beginning.
Yep. They've given up wins early in the season, and now like just get as many as you can, keep everybody in winning spirits because obviously, like we saw from the defense this game, they have a very different vibe as good as they are when they're out there having fun than when they're pressured and stressed and worn out.
Yep. On to next week opponent. You got the Pats at 1 p.m. over in Gillette Stadium against the old consultant, Mike Vrabel. A lot of fans were wondering why he was let go. I guess we'll find out.
I cannot wait until next week's show when everybody's bitching and moaning about where do we let Vrabel go if they win. It's going to be a disaster. So look forward to it, guys.
This is a chance to shut that down. And I picked the Browns to lose this game for 2 reasons. One, I just think Drake May's incredible, and I think Vrabel's a great coach. If we had let Stefanski go, that probably would have been my first choice. I don't think of my head coach as an offensive or defensive coach. I think him as a leader of like the group, and I love him. But it will be a very frustrating week if we lose, which is the other half of the reason I picked us to lose because that's just what I expect is, I expect Baker to win because that's a frustrating thing. I expect Vrabel to win because that's a frustrating thing. I expect Travion Henderson breaks his first 100-yard run for all those people that wanted to draft him. Like, that's just what I expect. Is like all those things that can go wrong to frustrate Browns fans will, because then it will frustrate me. So, yeah. So I'm going that it's probably New England's game, but man, could you change the whole vibe of this fan base and team if you sneak a win on the road against a team that's 4-2 right now. Like, this is a chance to beat a better team like you did versus Green Bay.
Defense is going to have to step up, do a play like they did. And what's even good is if you do win, you got the bye week and you prepare for the Jets, which is the worst team in the league. So you get an opportunity to go into New York with your first time going back to back to back in a long time. And then you got the Ravens at home at 425, depending on how Lamar feels, that might be winnable. And you
I
beat
think
him at
I'd
home
rather have
before.
to beating the Ravens than you do beating this New England
Yeah.
team, but I would love to be proven wrong. Please go out and prove me wrong, Browns, because I do not believe this is your week,
Yeah, this is gonna be a tough
but
week.
I hope you believe it is.
Mike
Then,
will have. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this Saturday we'll be doing a
Again,
little
we've
pregame
been
show
working
for the.
too much together because I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, we're gonna do a pregame show for that game. It'll be me, Sam, and Gary Lee. But also, November 9th, we have a event that we're going to be doing at the Moose Lodge in Elyria. So come check us out at the Moose Lodge in Elyria. There's going to be food, drinks, everything. I'm working on getting somebody down there, somebody special. That will be we'll know something soon on that front. But
I know
we'll
what
have
you're all thinking. Is it gonna be me? No, it's gonna be somebody else who's also special.
I'm gonna try to attend. I haven't had my conference with the wife yet, but I'm gonna double check. But I know you three are gonna be there. I'm gonna try to be there to be the fourth guy. If anything, at least be the guy in the crowd, kind of getting followers and talking, mingling.
see Angel throwing business cards at people like Ninja
Yeah.
Stars.
I will be on the race podcast this Thursday. So tune in. He asked me to dress up because it's our Halloween show.
I know what your Halloween costume is.
I'm gonna wear it. So stay tuned for that. Join us for that. I'll be on there talking about the Browns. I've been wanting to go on that show for like a month. And finally, my wife was able not to work on a Thursday, so I'm gonna jump on there. And we got it. I'm gonna wait to do the big announcement, but once it's set, we're gonna have we have a huge opportunity outside of sports, and that's really cool for this show. Once it's announced, we're gonna make it known, and then you can be able to tune in and be a part of something pretty cool for the podcast.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I mean it's set in stone. I just you just kind of want to double check because things can change.
You wanna confirm.
This
Me-
world that
me
we
and
live in.
Angel
Sports,
have been-
it's in sport. It's kind of out of sports. It's in sports.
Me and Angel have been working on this for like 2 months now.
I feel like it's been months. Like you're just sending email. Let me tell you guys something. As a podcast,
Meanwhile, I didn't do shit.
no, you contributed to the questions that I think helped push
That's
this.
true.
But
Hopefully
either way,
you find them.
I hope. I'm just saying, yeah. As a podcaster, 90% of your work is texting and emailing to get people on the show. Like the nose is pretty easy. The rest of the work is like, get some people on the show.
Get collabs. It's a ton of like research, collaboration, messaging for the sponsors or for guests. It's a lot more not talking. Like 1 hour and
22
30
minutes.
Doing this, and then hours of like all this background stuff is it's pretty
Yeah, even especially when your co-host is in a 3 hour different time zone and it's 11 o'clock, you're going to bed. He's just preparing for dinner. Like,
I do want to say too, on the bye week, we will have Jake Burns from Browns Film Breakdown. That was confirmed today. He will be on from 8 to 8:30. He has listen. We had Brad Ward
breakdown.
Yes, mid-season breakdown, bye week special episode. We're going to give our grades, our take of the team. We're going to give our whatever on the team, whatever. I got something written up. I thought I sent it to you guys. Maybe I didn't, but I want to give you guys the okay before we send it out. But he's going to come on. He's going to get his grade. We had Brad Ward on. He's Jake Burns is the guy that breaks down film. He's going to get on the show. It's going to be a fun episode. Very knowledgeable. He's going to break down. He's going to tell us how he feels. I respect his opinion because he gets deep into it. So tune in for that.
I'm glad it's happening actual mid-season because the bye week doesn't. Sometimes it's week 11. Sometimes it's week 5.
4.
We are getting it when you're actually in the middle of the season, and the fun extra of it will be that we had 4 games of Flacco, and then what will it be 4 or 5 games of Gabriel.
Yep.
And obviously none of Shador, and I know that Jake Burns is a big fan of Shador and kind of is hopeful that he'll get in there. But it is interesting, like we'll actually have really good groupings to talk about, and we'll actually know, like, now that this group is past that threshold and has played 4 games plus outside of that gauntlet, like, are we seeing changes? Is something better? So it's a great timing for that show.
Perfect timing. So yeah, tune into us Saturday night at 10 a.m. for the pregame show with the guys. It was fun last week. You guys did a great job. Gary, perfect fit.
Yeah, jump right in.
Yep. So let him know we appreciate him jumping on and being part of the team. We're
And
growing
I said this
here.
before.
Growing.
If you guys like Browns fans that like talk like Browns fans, think like Browns fans who like just kind of run that Browns fan roller coaster that we have been watching for the last 25 years. Like, I watched the Saturday show and I was like, I just feel like 90% of my friends who are living in Cleveland would be watching this and being like, yeah, like it's just kind of, it's such a Cleveland vibe. So I was like, yeah, I feel like if you are feeling like you're Cleveland, yeah, check that show out because they feel you.
They're
Yeah,
the
fun.
voice of the fan.
For sure.
Oh,
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Appreciate it. Like, comment, share. Follow us on all our podcasts, social media, Facebook, YouTube, X, everything. We're on it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the love. Stay tuned to our socials. We got plenty of announcements coming out. You don't want to miss that big one. The big interview that we're about to drop here in a couple weeks. So until next time, like always, go Browns.
those guys will see you Tuesday. I'll see you Saturday. Go Browns.
Yeah, go Browns.